Good morning, students. Today we will discuss the topic double fertilizations. This topic from first chapter, reproduction in lower and the higher plants. It is the most important topic and it is the most important chapter as the examinations point of view. Okay. Now, before this topic, we will see or read in these chapters that is the different parts. That is the structure of the flowers, then the development of male and the female gametophyte. It is the most important point. Okay. Now let us see the first double fertilizations. Double fertilization, it is the unique or the distinguishing features of the angiospermic plant. Now let us see double fertilizations. It is the process in which out of the two male gametes, one male gametes will be fused with the female gametes or the egg cells and to form the zygote, and this zygote it will be converted into the embryo, and this embryo it is converted into the new plants, and the second male gamete it is fused with the secondary nuclei. It will be developed into the endosperms. Okay, so this process is known as the double fertilizations. And the double fertilizations, this process was discovered by the scientist Naustin. It is observed this process in the family Liliaceae, in the liliaceous plants. For example of these plants, that is the lilium or the Fertilaria. These two plants in which the scientist Naustin will be observed this double fertilizations. Okay. Now let us see how this process, complete process will be takes place in this plant. Which thing will be observed by the scientists about this double fertilizations. What happens in the double fertilization first stage, that is the pollen grains. This pollen grains will be deposited on the stigma. We know that the structure of this carpel, that is the stigma, style and the ovary. Okay. Then here this pollen grains will be deposited on the stigma. It is the one of the part of the development of the male gametophytes. We know that it consisting of the two stages. One stage will be completed in the anther, and the second stage it will be completed on this stigma. Mean that the second stage of the, that is the development of the male gametophyte will be takes place on this stigma. What happens when this pollen tube will be deposited on the stigma? Then this pollen tube absorbs the certain substances from the surface of the stigma, and then this pollen tube it will be enlarges, and then the contents of this pollen grains it will be comes outside through the germ pores, and then to form this pollen tube. And this is the structure of this pollen grains, where this pollen tube will be comes outside, which contain the two male gametes and the tube nucleus. Okay, this structure is known as the male gametophyte. Now this pollen tube it will be grows through this style, and then it will be comes and it will be reaches up to the egg cells, and that it will be enter into the embryo sac. So here there are the three different ways in the different plants that this pollen tube will be enter inside this embryo sac. These processes are known as porogamy. These events are known as the porogamy, chalazogamy and the mesogamy. Okay. In the porogamy, what happened in the general angiospermic plant? This pollen tube it will be enters into this embryo sac through this micropyle. This is the micropyle region. Through this micropylar end, this pollen tube will be enters into this embryo sac. Okay. This process is known as porogamy. Second event, that is the chalazogamy, where the pollen tube will be enters inside this embryo sac through this chalaza. This region is known as the chalaza, where this pollen tube will be enter inside this ovules and it will be reaches up to the egg cells. In the another ways, the another way, that is the mesogamy. Okay, in the mesogamy, this pollen tube, this is the pollen tube, it will be entered through this integument, and then it will be reaches up to this egg cell. So this stage, this event is known as mesogamy. So that here there are the different ways through the pollen tube will be entered inside this embryo sacs. Okay, now let us see what happened in the next stage, in the double fertilizations. When this, we know that in case of this porogamy, this pollen tube will be enter inside this embryo sac through the synergids. This process is known as the porogamy, and this complete process, that is this pollen tube carry this two male gametes up to this egg cell. This stage is known as the siphonogamy. Siphonogamy, it is the process in which the two non-motile male gametes will be carried through this style. This process is known as the siphonogamy. Okay. Now what happens, that this pollen tube will be enters through this egg cell, through the synergids, and then these two male gametes will be releases. Then out of these two male gametes, one male gamete will be fused with the egg cell and to form the zygote. Here that this male gamete, it will be haploid in conditions. Female gamete, that is the egg cell, it is haploid in condition, and both, that is the male and the female gamete, it will be fused with each other to form the diploid zygote. That the zygote, it will be diploid in conditions, and then this zygote, it will be developed into the embryo, and then this embryo, further development, it will be developed into the new plant. Okay. Now the second male gamete, it will be fused with the secondary nuclei, and here this haploid male gametes and these two haploid secondary nuclei here to form the triploid primary endospermic nuclei. It will be triploid in condition. Why it will be triploid in condition? Because that this one male gamete, it is haploid in condition. Then these two polar nuclei, both the polar nuclei are also the haploid in condition, and then this fusion of these three nuclei, there is a new triploid secondary endospermic nucleus, it is the triploid in conditions. So this fusion is known as the triple fusion. First, that is the syngamy. First fertilization, it is also known as the syngamy, and the second fertilization, it is known as the triple fusion. So that here in the double fertilizations, here as the fertilization process will be takes place at two different places and twice. Hence, it is known as the double fertilization. Okay. Now here that two major events in the double fertilization, that is the syngamy and the triple fusion. These are the two important stages, other two important events takes place in the double fertilization. Now next point, that is significance or the importance of double fertilization. First importance, that is it is the unique features or it is the distinguishing features of the angiospermic plant, because that the double fertilization, this process does not take place in the any other group of the plants. It will be takes place only in the angiospermic plant, because that this process will be takes place in the only in angiospermic plant. Second importance, that is in this process the diploid zygote will be developed into the embryo. We know that in the process of syngamy, haploid male gamete will be fused with the haploid female gamete, that is the egg cell, to form the zygote. This zygote will be diploid in conditions, and this diploid zygote, it will be converted into the embryo. Then third importance, that is the triploid primary endospermic nucleus will be developed, which will be developed into the endosperm, and this endosperm, it provides the nutritions to the developing embryo. It is the important functions of this endosperms to provide the nutritions to the developing embryo. And third, next point, fourth point, that is it restores the diploid conditions. As that there is the male gametes and it will be restore this diploid condition, male and the female gametes. It will be fused with each other, and the here the zygote will be diploid in condition, so that this process will be restore these diploid conditions. And last point, this process will be avoid the polyembryony, means that this complete process it avoid the productions of number of the embryo, because that here this both the male gametes, here the both here in the male gamete of it, two male gametes will be produces, and this both the male gametes will be involved in this process, in the process of double fertilizations. Okay, so in this way that the double fertilization process will be completed. After this process, the productions of the zygote, then this zygote it will be converted into the embryo, and embryo it is developed into the new plants. Okay, and then the triple fusion endosperm will be produces, and this endosperms it provide the nutrition to the developing embryo. In this way that this topic will be completed. Thank you very much. If you like my video, you like me or you subscribe my video. Thank you very much.